Hi, welcome to the Sky Studio tutorial series. Sky Studio brings extensive customization without sacrificing performance, so you can build beautiful and engaging content. Today we're going to talk about how to configure the sun and the moon in Sky Studio. Before we do that, let's go ahead and make sure we're all looking at the same thing. Let's go to Basic Starter. This is a tutorial scene that's inside of the Sky Studio folders, Tutorials, Basic Starter. And let's go ahead and set up a new empty sky profile. Go to Sky Studio, Set up Sky, 3D, and let's pick blue sky with light clouds. Now you'll notice you have a basic scene with exactly that, blue sky and light clouds, and you'll notice above you we have a sun. So let's go ahead and just walk through the different options inside of the sky profile, and I'll talk about how to configure them. So first, right now the sun is directly above us. Let's go ahead and move it a little closer towards the horizon so it's easier to look at. To do that, you can manage the sun's position horizontally in the skybox, which would be as if you're rotating around the y-axis, or you can manage its vertical position, which is basically its elevation from the horizon. Since it's directly above us, we know we just have to pull down the vertical elevation, and you'll notice it comes into place. As I'm moving that, you'll notice that the shadows are changing in the scene, and that's because Sky Studio manages a directional light in the scene for you, just to make things a little bit easier for when you start animating the sun and the moon. If you want to disable things like shadows or add a lens flare, that can easily be configured by looking at the Sky System controller in the scene, or then going to either the sun or the moon, and you can adjust shadows right here. So we can put it to no, or we can leave it at soft. I'm going to leave it at soft for right now. So let's go back to the sky profile, and let's take a look at some of the options on the sun. So there's edge feathering. This lets us control how hard or soft the circle is that's rendered. Usually you want to have a nice soft one. The color is additively blended, so you'll notice it washes to white in a background color like this. But if you were in a nighttime scene, the color would be much more impactful, or also for when using a texture. You can control the size just by changing the slider's value. And let's go ahead and use a custom texture. Say we're working on a more cartoon-styled game with custom art. Click Use Custom Texture. Then let's go to Sun Texture, and just type in sun. You should be able to find an image called Toon Sun, which is bundled in the Sky Studio asset. And you'll notice it doesn't look quite right at first, and that's because this is a texture that has transparent alpha values, and to get it to not additively blend the scene, you need to click the box Use Alpha Blending. Let's go ahead, and you'll notice the edge feathering is still enabled from before when we were playing with it. So let's go ahead and reduce the edge feathering and bring it all the way down to 0. And now we have a cartoon sun in our scene. There are some nice simple options as well to have a little bit of a rotation, which is often desired. So if you click that, it'll start spinning the sun. And we can slow it down a little bit, or we can increase it. And if you want it to spin the other direction, you just take it into the negative value. Sky Studio also has support for sprite sheet animations. And I think this is really cool because it lets artists build the exact sun or moon that they want with the exact animations they want. And so as just an example, let's go ahead and set up a sprite sheet animation. So the way you do that is by supplying a sprite sheet texture. And so if you search for the word sprite sheet, you should find Toon Sun, which is one that I built and just kind of as basically a demo sun. Then you have to tell Sky Studio that this image is a sprite sheet and then the layout. So let's click Texture is Sprite Sheet Animation. Then we just need to tell it the layout of the sprite sheet. This is an 8 by 8, which is 64 total because we're using all of the spaces. If you weren't using all of the spaces, you would use a lower number there. Then you can tell it the frame rate at which you want it to flip through this sequence of images inside your spreadsheet. So right now it's 15, which actually looks pretty good, but we can move it to 30, and you'll notice it's now animating faster if we look here in the scene. So this is a really powerful feature. You can use this for the sun, the moon, and also you can use it for lightning and the rain effects that we'll talk about later in the tutorials. This is a feature that really lets you unlock your imagination, and I'm excited to see what people are doing with it. Next, we can talk about we've already talked about bloom edge feathering. The bloom intensity is a value that you can increase or decrease to help bloom filters really pop. It basically will just multiply this value against the colors. And so if that kind of activates your bloom filter, you'll get a nice burst. The sunlight color lets you adjust the color from the directional light in the scene that we managed for you. So let's move it to like something like a yellow, just so we can kind of see the effect, or maybe, yeah, like a red, you can really see it there. Then the sunlight intensity is the intensity of the light in the scene. So if we take it up, you'll see it gets really scorched. And then if we bring it down, it's a little more typical. And that's it. You'll notice that we really only need to talk about the sun settings here, because if we go and we click and enable the moon, it has all of the exact same settings. So, so you treat the moon just like the sun. You get to have its own directional light, and you can put your own textures and everything just like you'd expect there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next tutorial video.